This is the drive home with
Zac
and TT for the Mill drive home. Driving home from the den. Where it finished, Millwall 0,
Hull City 0.
Toothless from both the Tigers and the Lions. Although obviously Hull will be coming away from that thinking they've got a result. And they have. They got a point when they didn't deserve anything from the game. And we've come away with only a point when we huffed and puffed, but to be fair, never looked like blowing a time wasting Hull City side. There's, once the game goes the way it does after Hull go down to 10 men, it becomes like the Alamo, and you can say that they defended resolutely to put their bodies on the line, but we ultimately weren't good enough to break them down, and they've got a well deserved point. But they were never going to get any more than that. Thank you very much for the likes on the last video and the comments. We've both had COVID this week.
Yeah.
We said we were all at Huddersfield. We were. Well, I certainly was. That was a tough drive home, wasn't it?
That was a very tough.
That was a tough drive home from Huddersfield.
Obviously. I mean, I was not very ill for that. I was developing it, but you was a full-fledged.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Obviously. The remembrance match, and Mill do that really well. The soldiers were shown the correct respect. Minute silence impeccably done by both sets of fans. Very quiet atmosphere at the den again today. It's tough, that's 3 games in a row we've failed to score. It's hard to get up and behind the team when you're not putting the ball in the back of the net or not forcing the keeper to make too many saves. We had more changes to the lineup with Long in goal, a back 4 of Danny McNamara, Scott Malone at left back, and Cooper and Cresswell as the centre backs. In front of them you had Billy Mitchell and the return of George Saville. So it's 4-2-3-1. In front of the 2 midfielders, you had Tyler Bury at right midfield. Left midfield was, who was it? Left midfield.
Tyler Bury.
Tyler Bury was left midfield. Right midfield was
No, not Vogel.
It weren't Vogel-Sammer. George Honeyman, sorry.
Yeah.
Central attacking midfield was Zian Fleming with Tom Bradshaw up front. Fleming created anything that we did today. I felt that Bradshaw ran around a lot, but our press was absolutely horrendous. The amount of times we made it so easy, even when they went down to 10 men. We left the player in the middle all the time, able to get the ball. So 1 or 2 you either press as a team or you don't press and you drop. And in that game was crying out for us to do a full team press to win the ball high at the pitch, and we just didn't commit enough. And that's even more disappointing when they went down to 10 men, that you just think we just allowed them to play around us. And we do make teams look really good. I don't know what Hull City are like on a regular basis, but we make them look good because we give them so much time and possession, so much time on the ball. When we did pressure them as a team, we looked far more dangerous. Zian Fleming, like I said, created most of our opportunities today. He done a great bit of skill in the first half where he's knocked it round the player, literally run round him, and then drilled the ball across the goal. One of the best ways we're looking like scoring today was from an own goal. He drilled it across. It didn't hit anybody and went out for a throw-in.
Cooper very, very nearly headed it, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, and saying about Cooper and Cresswell, this is what I've said it. And it frustrates me, but you say it as a Mill fan. To beat us from set pieces, you have to hold. You have to hold on to Cooper. You have to hold on to Cresswell. And Hull City were not even,
They weren't even holding. They were doing more than holding.
They were rugby. It was full blown cuddling the players, and the refs looking right at them. And I don't understand where we've spoken to them, you've watched it happen, and yet you've not blown it up. So of course they're going to do it. Quite right, quite right for the whole players to do it. If you're going to get away with it, then you're going to do it. You run the risk of a ref at some stage pulling them up, but he didn't today. And because we seem to only score from set pieces, if you take that danger away from us, you go a long way to keeping us out. So like I said, Cooper and Cresswell held all the time. Yeah, it was bad. The best bit of play, there was some amazing play by Fleming. One bit of amazing play by Millwall. One touch football with Fleming's won the ball. He's passed it into, I think it was
Bury.
Honeyman
Yeah.
passed it back to Fleming into Bury, and it could have went back to. I think it did go back to Fleming, who just couldn't quite finish it off.
Yeah.
And like I said, that it was all us in the first half, and then their player gets sent off. It's a long ball from the keeper, ridiculously defended. I don't know what their player's doing. Cresswell doesn't even duck that much. He drops his head a little bit, and the player's got his boot in a ridiculous position. It catches Cresswell quite dangerously. It's a dangerous high boot. He's got to go.
Cresswell has a bandage around his head for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and like I said, you see that, and you just think it's Millwall against teams down to 10 men. We very rarely do anything against 10 men because teams sit back against us, and we don't have players to unlock a defence, and that's what happened in the second half. For all of the huffing and puffing, I remember the keeper making one good save from Scott Malone. Other than that, do you remember?
Oh, yeah. I do remember making one save. It wasn't that great, but when it got crossed in, this was right at the end of the game. It got crossed in, and Bradshaw kind of
Yeah, we've had a couple of headers,
Yeah.
and Bennett had a header from across from the right. There was some absolute madness subs. Bringing off George Saville, I have absolutely no idea why he did that. George Saville was probably our best player at the time, in terms of controlling the game. And
brought off Billy Mitchell and Danny McNamara as well.
Yeah, it just one that brought the players that looked decent were having a decent game. He's brought them off, and it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like I said, we huffed and puffed in the second half. Obviously, we did score one goal, a ball from the left. Scott Malone, don't get me wrong, Scott Malone today had a decent game, dribbling down the left. His crossing was one of the better people for crossing. A really good ball across, chipped in, and Bradshaw does get his head on it. I do think he was offside. I didn't even celebrate, to be fair. I looked straight at the linesman, and he was happily waving his flag. And then Hull City saw out the game. Like I said, we huffed and puffed without really doing enough. Fleming got in behind and then just kind of cut it across the 6-yard box without any kind of.
Fleming was a danger man.
He
today,
was, but
he didn't create anything.
The bits in the final third were just so frustrating because it looked aimless. It looked like we didn't look like we had a plan. Once we get to the final third, like Bury was taken off, didn't impact the game nearly at all.
He was very quick with his feet down the side that I was on.
Yeah, that was in the first half, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think he done once or twice. You just think, keep trying to take players on. If you do try and take players on and you don't get anywhere with it, then you don't get anywhere with it. But that's what you're on the pitch for. Far too lazy in the second half. I saw one player just walk, just kind of jog the ball past him. You've got to be more determined to get on the ball than that. And obviously, Mason Bennett comes on the pitch and that is more determined to get on the ball. But he didn't really create anything either. It's just a frustrating game all round, and obviously we haven't got a home game now for quite some time. Since before the World Cup, we've got Preston away next week, and that's the last game before the World Cup, isn't it?
Yep, one more game.
Who would you say was our man of the match today?
I'd probably say Zac Fleming because he was dangerous.
Yeah, it's probably.
Some way.
What's it called? Like I said, I think Zac Fleming as well. For me, it was not enough intensity. You keep one player up front when the opposition are down to 10 men. You bring Vogelsammer and put him on the right. To me, it just seemed like we didn't have a plan. We did not know how to break down a resolute Hull City team, and we just did not give it enough of a go. We just seemed to be too defensive against, that obviously they didn't really do anything in the second half because they sat back and played us. But you've got to. I agree, you've got to play wide. But once we start playing the ball into the middle, just it was just aimless, and it's really, really frustrating in games like that. That's like I said, 3 games without a goal. Yes, you can look at it, and I'm sure Gary Rowett will go, yeah, we got 2 clean sheets in the last 2 games, but
that's 2 clean sheets without
and Long's not had no shots on target. We didn't concede a shot on target at Birmingham. I don't think we conceded a shot on target today, did we?
And there's basically about 1 shot on target from us today as well.
But there's no atmosphere. There's no atmosphere at the Den because you get frustrated. It is boring. There's no getting around it. It's boring to watch, and it must be boring to play in. I'm going to leave it there because I hate being negative. But, you know, when you're driving away and you just think that that game was there for the taking and we just did not look, there was not enough intensity for us to go and win that game. And like I said, the subs were absolutely baffling. But thank you very much for watching. You're in the 25% if you're still here. There's only one way we can end it. No one likes us.
We don't care.